In this video, we are going to look at two things. One is basically around macroeconomics. What is the meaning of macroeconomics? And the second is, what is the scope of macroeconomics? The word macro is basically derived from a Greek word called macros. And what macros means is large. So the scope of macroeconomics is basically to deal with things in aggregate or in totality, if I may call it. So like in case of an individual, when you study microeconomics, you study the behavior of an individual, how he consumes, how his demand for individual products is changed. When we deal in macroeconomics, we deal with large things, aggregate things, total things. And in macroeconomics, what we study are certain variables, which I will take one by one. The first one being the aggregate investment. Now, what does this mean? We know that there are various producers in an economy, right? So all these producers do make a lot of expenditure, right? And all that expenditure for all the producers taken together, which add to their stock of capital, amounts to the aggregate investment. The second is the aggregate supply and demand. This again adds up to whatever is the total demand or total supply in an economy. So we are not looking at individuals over here. What we are looking at is the entire demand or supply in the economy. The general price level, whether it is increasing or reducing. The domestic income. Now, domestic income is again something which is specific to a particular economy. So let's say when we talk about India, the domestic income would mean whatever is the income earned within the geographical boundaries of India. Of course, there are certain variations to it. I will study the details separately, but just to understand at a larger level. And then you have aggregate consumption, which is nothing but the consumption of all the goods and services in an economy, right? So here, if you look at it, what we are looking at is more from a perspective of a country or an economy and not from an individual perspective. And that's where this is known as macroeconomics, a large number, the aggregate in a country or an economy, and not a single person. So what is it that we study in macroeconomics? Of course, these are some of the variables which we discuss, which we study at a large level. But what exactly is it that you study as a part of macroeconomics? And that brings us to the scope of macroeconomics. So what you study as a part of macroeconomics are these 6 things broadly. There may be certain other variables as well. The first one is the concept and measurement of national income. So what does national income mean? Is it just a simple sum total of all the income of all the people? Or is it more? So what is covered in national income? The concept of national income and how do you measure it is something which is covered as a part of macroeconomics. Determination of income and employment. So how do you achieve or how do you calculate what is employment meant from a country's perspective? Whether people are underemployed, whether they are overemployed, or is there some kind of a disguised unemployment? All these concepts we will study as a part of macroeconomics. Money and banking. What is the banking system of the country all about? There is normally a central bank in a country and there are various private and public banks. What is money? What is the form of money? Paper money, plastic money. What is the availability of money? What is the government budget? Every country has its own government, right? How does the government does its budgeting? What are the factors which are considered, right? And what is the impact of all this on the economy? Then the determination of foreign exchange rates. So every country has its own currency. So let's say in India, you have rupee as our currency. How does the rate of rupee determined vis-a-vis a US dollar? So how many rupees? So let's say, for example, currently it's ranging in the range of 60 to 65, right? Rupees 60 to 65 is equal to $1. How is this rate determination done between the currencies of various countries? And the last one is balance of payment. So every country imports things, right? Which means it buys things from other countries and it sells or export things to other country. Balance of payment basically means whether, so let's say if I earn 100 rupees and I spend 80, I have earned a net of 20 rupees. Balance of payment basically refers to whether you are positive insofar as balance of payment is concerned or negative. All these form part of macroeconomics, which we will be studying as a part of this detailed syllabus. I hope you would have got a good idea around macroeconomics at this point in time. We will be covering the entire scope and videos through detailed versions later. Thank you for being with us today.